I would just like to ask you one question. What do you think of when you think of neon? I think partying, fast-paced music, darkness, and an overall 90s aesthetic, grungy and seedy with a hint of underlying pressure. That is the perfect way to describe Katana Zero, developed by ASCIIsoft and published by Devolver Digital. This will be the full story of that game, as well as my thoughts on the entire package. Just as a precaution, there will be spoilers. With that out of the way, let's jump right into this. It starts with 10 days being displayed on screen, then a mysterious voice asks a random question that you have no idea about. You kill some dudes and get a phone call stating that you must act quickly, and that there is a scientist you must free. It also mentions the precognition, which is the crazy sci-fi time-stopping ability our protagonist seems to possess. So you slice, dice, and stop time to save the scientist, who is in pretty bad shape. You then escort him out. Well, I mean, we try to, but a person downstairs with blue hair blows his head sky high with the press of a button. Let's call him the Russian. So the Russian sends more heavy-duty guards to deal with the problem. That's us. So we leave and go back to our gross little crumbly apartment where the neighbors are blasting music. We then listen to the news, have our delicious herbal tea, and drift to sleep on the couch. There's a dream that plays with you as a small boy throwing a ball to an unidentified other small child. Then an unidentified person comes in and seems to swallow both us and the other unidentified child. We wake up, 9 days remain, and we appear to be in a psychiatrist's office. The psychiatrist then goes through the events of our previous night's dream, uncovering that the man who comes in is a scientist who operates the machine we see behind the unidentified child, and that we should not be afraid of him. Then the psychiatrist gives us a shot of an unidentified substance and file, which you would think would be your medical records, but it turns out it's a hit. A hit on Josh Rose, a billionaire who is involved in moving war drugs. We burn the file and make our way to the murderer hotel. See what they did there? Then the front desk clerk stops us for a bit and lets us through to have our shower. We go through, being the 6 samurai that we are, and make it through all floors of the hotel. We reach the top and meet our target, Josh Rose. Rose then tells us that he is surprised that there is more than one of us left. He then tells us the most important line we have heard thus far: "I regret the pain I've caused through you." He then jumps to his death, and we make it back to our home. There is a young girl who bumps into us. We then go through the apartment and sleep. The same nightmare is repeated, only this time the scientist is shot by an unidentified man. 8 days remain. We wake up, go to the therapist again, get our injection, and new objective: killing DJ Electrohead. We arrive at Club Neon and blend our way through crowds of dancers. We get a call from our clients to not talk to Electrohead for an unknown reason. Then we make it to the man himself. Electrohead then details to us a lot of drugs he bought from an auction, the reason he thinks we're here. He says it feels like time slows down when it's taken. Sounds a lot like our mystery injection we get every day. He doesn't know the name, however, and we kill him to complete the contract. There are 2 ways of him dying. In my playthrough, he talks, then gets killed by a bullet from an unidentified shooter, or you could just stab him, but we want the full story. After we are returning to our apartment, the little girl stops us again and wants to come inside our home to look for her doll. We find it for her and she leaves, then we sleep. The same nightmare unfolds, only this time the unidentified child is thrown against the wall, which turns into the stuffed animal we were looking for only a while ago. 7 days remain. We go to our psychiatrist again and tell him that we spoke to DJ Electrohead. The psychiatrist then gets really mad that we spoke to him. He says that we are special and we cannot fall victim to drugs, even though we have been taking the same one this whole time. We also learn that the media has been calling us the Dragon. The next hit is given: Fa Yuan, who is related to the military and is someone who leaked something, I'm assuming as drugs. We make our way to Mutual Nil Prison, where Fa Yuan is captive. There is some pretty freaky stuff, like guards hung from fans and a guard with blood wings. Everyone has been slaughtered, it seems. We reach our target and find out he is already dead. More cops show up, believing that the dragon has slaughtered everyone in the prison. We then make our way back out as quietly as possible. We are walking through town when we are stopped by an old war veteran. He calls us a Cro-Mag when we show him the medal we got in the war. He says it's his and tries to pull it from our grasp. There are 2 ways you could do this: kill the man and take the medal back, or just yank it from his hands. As we return home, we are greeted by the little girl who says there is a video for us from an unknown person. She comes inside, and we watch it together, only to find it grotesque, with two men being tortured by the same blue-haired Russian we saw earlier. These men are our neighbors. He proceeds to stab a needle in one of the men, who is full of the same liquid that gives us the time ability. It essentially makes the torture last longer. Then he states that all of this is for us because the music is too loud. The camera then fades in the neighbor's room. We have the same nightmare for the fourth time, the only difference being that the unidentified shooter uses the machine. 6 days remain. We try to enter the psychiatrist's office, but he's closed today. As we are walking out of the building, a limo pulls up and we enter it. It turns out to be the blue-haired Russian who wants us to do drugs with him. He tells us of another location, Studio 51. We get kicked out, but follow the limo all the way there. Then the Russian hides behind a locked door with 3 keys hidden on the various floors of the studio. We find all of them, unlock the door in the lobby, then fight the Russian, which we can't win. The screen glitches and we see a new person enter, another samurai named Snow. She mocks our form and school, that being the Shinkage Ryu school, then leaves with the Russian. The little girl comes to our apartment late at night and asks for candy, dressed as we are. She says it's Halloween. We give her a fish head. We fall asleep and are interrupted by 2 men wearing gold and silver masks. They speak an old Shakespearean language using words like thou, tis, thy. They state that there are 2 masks, one for life and one for death, and they will need to pick one or the other in 3 days' time. 4 days remain. We go to the psychiatrist again and discuss the 2 men you see in your dream. The psychiatrist then turns into the Russian who kicks you into the next area. Time glitches and gameplay stops. You appear in a church with a stained glass window next to us. We talk of the past, the killing we had to do to the defenseless people. It's not PTSD, it's the drug. Forced to replay the same things from your past. Stuck in it, unable to move. This provides a critical information, as it states that when the drug is gone, time will stop flowing and you are stuck inside your own head for eternity. Sounds like hell, doesn't it? We begin to lose it as we enter madness. Negative 684 days remain. We become the homeless veteran. We are then in the psychiatrist's office. He ups the doses because we were essentially going through light withdrawal because of the time drug. Our next target is Al-Qazim, the maker of the mystery drug. We head to his mansion and are captured by the Russian. We get the name of the drug, Kronos, which is how we escape the chains. Then get out our sword and fight Mr. Kissyface, who wields an axe. The Russian, now called V, leaves thinking we are dead. We surprise him, and it ends up being a chase on the highway of District 3. Then we end up wrecking V's helicopter he was trying to use to kill us. Then it is brought to our attention that we are not the real dragon. That title belongs to the person who kills V. We get drunk with other veterans of the war in a local tavern. There are hallucinations after this of V still being alive, even after the dragon cut off both of his arms. 3 days remain. We get our next assignment, the real dragon. We go to a casino, use our time ability to play the house, and then use that money to enter the $100,000 coin area. Then there's a fight between us and the friend of the dragon. We one-tap her and chase after the dragon in Chinatown. We then get surrounded during the chase. This is the moment the men in the masks were talking about. The choice, life or death. We can either end it here, or go to the credits, or continue with the story. Obviously, we're going to continue with the story, so gold mask it is. We exit the area and buy a video from a video store with the little girl. Then we play as the real dragon, who has crazy ninja teleporting abilities. We go through the prison area that we were at before, only this is before that time, when everyone was still alive. We get to Fa Yuan, who is still alive, and he tells us of a new person with ties to Kronos, Leon von Alvin Sleben. Fa is then killed in the toilet bowl. We go back to playing our dragon. We will call him Zero, which I'm pretty sure his name is. We enter the slaughterhouse in order to track him down. Leon, who puts us through a series of trials in order to test how suitable we are for the Kronos program. Seems a little odd considering that we already have the stuff, but okay. We continue through his gauntlet full of enemies and traps. Then we meet Leon, which I will just show. Turns out he was being cryogenically preserved with Kronos. This is also the reason that we haven't aged at all during the game, even though the other vets seem to be much older. We leave and go to the roof of our building with the little girl, overlooking the vast city that is District 3, which used to be New Mecca before the war 7 years ago. There are no more numbers, only judgment. We wake up. Well, we get woken up by the little girl. She makes us some gross soup and we go to the psychiatrist's office. Our final objective is to destroy any sensitive material relating to Kronos and Al-Qasim's bunker. We descend down, kill a bunch of police and SWAT and gangs, and finally meet the laser girl who is part of the same program as us. We are both null. She says that we are both the rotten afterbirth of a miscarried war. We are unwanted and will die if we don't get our fix of Kronos, so we fight for what's left of it in this bunker. She says that there is only enough for one person, so there can't be any truces. One last intense fight is left with her stating that she knows every attack or movement we are going to make. That also means that we can do the same about her. After many, many, many deaths, we defeat her, as she says, to make this right for the both of us. We sever her head and use it to open the vault. When entered, there's nothing except the little boy standing there. The boy vanishes and a family remains. It cuts to a dream where you have to kill a child, the same boy we were in the dreams before. We then run away while getting a call from our clients saying that the targets are still alive. I believe that these targets are the family of the laser girl, as well as the family of the psychiatrist. This is why he states, "Do you know what you've just done?" while saying that his daughter can't be reached. He calls us a junkie, and we destroy his head with a stone head. Fitting, right? We then dope ourselves up on 3 Kronos injections to keep us from losing our mind. When we return home, we find the cops looking around in apartments after the death of our neighbors. We get one final scene where we learn that Zero, who is us, was the guy who shot the scientist, and he worked alongside 15. The credits then roll, and we find out even more info. The real dragon is still alive and has the body of V with him. Also, Snow has V's necklace, and there will be a war soon, which will most likely be the plot of the next game.